More states are edging out entire countries for total coronavirus cases. 21 states now have case counts higher than South Korea's. Our national investigative team analyzed data around the country and compared it to the earliest hotspots for the latest trends.
The Seattle area remains a hotspot for the coronavirus.
The COVID-19 pandemic in the United States.
So far, the majority of U.S. deaths have occurred in Washington state.
Started in Seattle,
The center of this outbreak.
what was known as the nation's first hotspot. But as the virus has spread around the country, the Seattle metro area has been passed up. Looking at a map, now 42 metro areas in the country have more per capita cases than Seattle. You know about New Orleans and the hotspots in Chicago and the Northeast, but also with more per capita cases than Seattle, Indianapolis, Green Bay, Denver, Nashville, Memphis, Atlanta, and Montgomery. Here's the average curve of daily cases in the country, steady, going down a little. But some experts worry because when you take out New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, and Massachusetts, cases in the country are actually going up.
Once you start stripping that out, you realize most of the rest of the country is still growing cases, and there are pockets where the cases are growing rather rapidly. Places like Minnesota, places like Iowa, are growing cases at a fairly rapid rate.
In the past week, on a per capita basis, cases are higher in Amarillo, Texas than anywhere else. Green Bay, Des Moines, and Minneapolis are also seeing higher than average cases.
And it's growing under the best circumstances because remember, the cases that we're seeing today are a reflection of infections that occurred 2 and 3 weeks ago typically. So those infections occurred under the greatest level of lockdown that we've had. If you assume that the lockdowns have now been released in a good part of the country and they're only going to get more and more relaxed over time, and that people are going to have mask fatigue and social distancing fatigue and so on, then cases are going to continue to grow, and then you have another wave building.
The positive case count in the past week is low in some areas, a sign the virus isn't spreading fast everywhere. That's the case in areas like Huntsville, Jacksonville, Charleston, West Virginia, and Knoxville.
I am one of those people that tend, and maybe this is the optimist in me, that tends to believe that heat is going to slow down the spread. So places like Georgia, places like Florida have at least partly, I believe, been spared by the presence of heat, sun, and so on.
I mean, we don't know if the heat slows it or not. I mean, it might.
Absolutely right.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. And there's so many hypotheses out there.
And as states begin to reopen, experts will keep an eye on how the curves change from where it began in Seattle to the rest of the country.
Dr. Foreman is focused on bigger metro areas like Atlanta and Miami, which have remained relatively low for major cities. Of course, there are pockets of cases in those states too, Albany, Georgia being one of the smaller areas that's been a big hotspot. Up next, a prime example of how tough things have been in this country as we zero in on the latest unemployment.